Good evening to everyone watching currently live and everyone watching this on the replay. I am Cassandra Edwards. I'm your host. I'm the founder and CEO of the Chosen Few Financial Empowerment and Wellness Workshops. I am excited to greet you guys today and present to some, introduce to others, Mr. Darshaun McAway. Now, Darshaun is a distinguished author and entrepreneur, and with the instant success of his children's book being featured in Walmart, the Anaya's Adventure series became an instant success. The McAway family has established a celebrated children's publishing company called babyauthors.com, and his primary focus is to instruct, inspire, and enlighten families to stick together. So I'm excited to present him and just create this platform for him to educate us. And being an aspiring author myself, this is information that is like gold to me. So thanks again, Darshaun, for agreeing to come on and educate us and inspire us this evening.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me. So I want to make this very clear when everyone hears this. If you don't mind, put your microphones on mute. It's not just about children's books. I'm going to talk to you guys about how to get a book inside of Walmart. What's the protocol? I'm going to tell you how to market your book, the whole nine. So if you have any questions, save them to the end, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to answer every question while I'm doing my presentation. So first and foremost, I want to talk to you guys about the aspiration of wanting to be more. So when I first started writing a children's book, I was thinking, okay, how do I get the exposure, right? How do I turn this book into a business? That was one of the main things. How do I turn a book into a business? Because with books, you'll end up coming out with a book every year if you don't focus on it the right way, right? So I moved from Florida to Northwest Arkansas, and I told my wife, I say, if we can just get this book inside of Walmart, we'll create some type of momentum, and then we'll be able to kickstart off of different merchandise. So I didn't know necessarily how to get inside Walmart. So I took a trip to Walmart, and there was a gentleman coming out, and that gentleman that was coming out, I purposely bumped into him so I can get his attention. Lo and behold, I didn't notice that he was the VP of Walmart. So when I bumped into him, I said, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me how do I get my children's book inside of Walmart?" So he said, "Tell me more." I say, "No problem. My name is Darshaun McAway. I started babyauthors.com. I created this 5-book children's series, and I'm just trying to figure out if I can get this book inside the store." He said, "Well, I'm just the person to meet. My name is James Cameron. I'm the vice president. Why don't you give me your business card and I'll connect you with the book buyer?" Now, I'm going to pause on that story. Usually what happens when people approach Walmart, they have to send in a proposal, a business proposal in most cases. And usually that person is the publisher on your behalf because they want to see your sales. Now, I skipped through all the red tape of having a publisher pitch my book towards Walmart and Walmart saying, "Hey, we think your book is interesting." With the vice president talking to me first and foremost, that fast tracked me directly to the book buyer. Now, within 3 days of her giving her, of him emailing her about my books, she said, "Hey, James Cameron told me you're the person to meet. I would love to talk to you about your books. I think your books are wonderful. This is exactly what we need in our stores. When are you available?" So I told her my availability, and I asked her, I say, "Ma'am, do you mind if I bring my wife and my daughter to the meeting?" She said, "Absolutely no problem." So within about 2 weeks from there, we came into the meeting. And one thing that was very surprising to me, the way Walmart does business is, the first thing she told me was, "Hey, we know that you're a small publishing company, and we see companies like you all the time. We have a tendency to put you guys out of business because of the amount of units that we order. We want to order 60,000 units from you, but we're afraid that in this 90-day probation period, you won't be able to handle it because we need to know if you can sell 60,000 copies." So I said, "Well, ma'am, I'm not able to sell 60,000 copies in 90 days. I say, "But what I can tell you is, let's do 250, right? Let's do 250 in 90 days, and let's see how I do." He said, "Okay, that's a challenge, but we can do that. I'll do that for you since James Cameron told me to look out for you." So we ended up securing that deal. And lo and behold, Cassandra, if you can go to Walmart picture number 1, lo and behold, what I didn't realize was I didn't know that James Cameron knew I had the meeting, and he was coming back to congratulate me because he believed in me so much. So if you can show that picture, if you go to Walmart, Walmart number 1, okay. So I think that's two, which was great for me because for the vice president to shake my wife's hand, I was ecstatic. Okay, so that was when Anaya was she was about 7 months old, and that was us coming out of the meeting, basically securing the deal. If you go to number three, I think there was a part in there where he ended up praying with us just shortly after. And now the person who took the picture was Xavier Thomas. That was one of my staff members that I had brought with us. So that was a moment in history. That was 2016. I think that was March or May of 2016. And that was the first time that I realized that I was capable to do everything that I wanted to do if I put my mind to it. So since then up until now, we've had the books inside of Walmart. Now, let's move on from there. I want to tell you guys about having a clear goal for your book. Now, many of you have already published a book, which is great. Many of you are trying to figure out how to publish a book, which is even better. So one of the main things I want to talk to you about is having a clear goal. Usually in having a clear goal, you have to understand your marketing and promotion. What type of people are going to read your book? Your book is not for everybody on the face of the planet. It's for a certain age group. It's for a certain demographic. So you want to make sure that you market your book the right way, because just because you think you have this great idea doesn't mean it's going to be a bestseller. And what is a bestseller? A bestseller is a book that sells anywhere between 500 to 10,000 copies monthly. That's a bestseller. Not a New York Times bestseller, but a bestseller in general. So when you have a clear goal on how you're going to market your book, I'm just basing this off of experience. We knew that we wanted to sell our children's book to Walmart. We also knew that there were such things as children's hospitals, children's dentist practices, pediatric clinics, things of that nature. So I already knew that if I got the books inside of Walmart, that was going to be my verification. Then I can go to another business and say, hey, well, Walmart bought these books. Why don't you buy a couple? So whatever type of book you have, like Dr. Jane White, she has a spiritual wellness guide. She would want to market her book towards the yoga studios. I know it's a pandemic, it's the COVID going around, but she would want to take her book and set it on the tables of yoga studios, some doctors' clinics when they start to open back up. But she wants to make sure that she can sell those books to those offices at a wholesale rate. In most cases, when people buy something from you, they're going to purchase your book at a wholesale rate. They don't really necessarily want to buy it at the retail rate. They want to buy it at the wholesale rate. So you have to focus on that. So let's get back to marketing and promotion. Now, as I'm telling you these are things that I'm doing right now. One thing I knew for sure that before the pandemic, one thing I knew for sure was if I can get my books inside of the new homes that are being built by the real estate companies, that'll help us out tremendously. So there's companies in my area that are building houses, within 700 houses within like 4 months. We got companies like Keller Williams and Roche Coleman and stuff like that. So I knew that they were building single family homes, parent homes, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. So I started pitching my books to those real estate companies. So not only was I doing children's hospitals, I started doing real estate companies. So what you're thinking about is this, guys, when you're trying to market and promote a book, how do I sell units? How do I sell hundreds of units? How do I sell thousands of units, right? You got to think you don't want to necessarily think about the consumer. You want to turn your book into a business and sell business to business. This is how you move units, and you keep track of those sales, and those sales count, right? Those sales count towards your upsell of, hey, I sold 10,000 copies. I sold 100,000 copies. Every unit counts. Every number counts. Every book counts. So again, let's go back to the marketing and promotion. Most of the time when you write a book, you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to send in my manuscript to a traditional publisher. The traditional publisher is going to say this to you. They're going to say, what's your business proposal, right? What's your marketing plan? Why should we pick you up? Well, who's your target audience? So like Judge Woods has a book about being a foster child, right? So his target audience, he would cater to people that grew up without parents, they grew up in a foster home, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I connect this book with these people? But his main question would be, how do I sell 100,000 units, right? How do I sell 100,000 units? So what I would do if I was Judge Woods, what I would do is I would reach out to all the foster homes and say, hey, I have this children's book that caters to this demographic. I'm selling it to you guys at this wholesale rate. What do you think about this? And they'll say, sure, we'll buy 25 copies from you, no problem. So if I were him, I would focus on selling those units some of those books to foster homes to give the kids something to read about, so that the kids can relate to the foster kid experience. Okay. Uh, does everybody understand it? Is that pretty clear so far?
Makes
Okay.
perfect sense.
Okay, great. All right. So let's talk about this and go back to the marketing and promotion, because this is all in the beginning. This is kind of actually before you start writing the book. You kind of want to have your marketing and your promotion together, because when you come out with your book, this is how you're going to implement it. The reason business plans are so important is because if you went to a bank, or even if you showed it to me, I want you to stick to the script, right? That's very important, because when you show somebody you have a business proposal or a business plan, they see that you have foundation. When you tell people what's your target market, what's your marketing audience, when you have an answer, those people know that you have a plan. Okay, so that's one thing you want to focus on is, okay, who's my target audience, and how many books do I plan on coming out with? What do I plan on doing with this book when it comes to marketing and promotion? Like, am I going to come out with some T-shirts? Am I going to come out with some hats? Am I going to sell those T-shirts? Am I going to sell those hats? Those are marketing and promotions to get the buzz going about your book. What you don't want your book to do is fade in the background. When I first got started writing books, I started off with poetry. Then I went over to romance novels. Then I went over to self-help. And then I decided to stick with the children's books, because children's books have a 80-year to a 100-year shelf life. Think about
Wow.
it. When you were a kid, most of you are probably just a little bit older than me, but you remember Dr. Seuss book. Well, those
Mhm.
books are still around. So when I came out with my self-help book, well, that was only good for 2 years. When I came out with my poetry book, that was only good for 1 year. But when you deal with children's books, that's an 80-year to a 100-year shelf life. Now, copyrights only last 70 years. So in 70 years from now, you're going to have to reissue another copyright. But the point is, children's books have a longer longevity than any other book, right? Not to say that you shouldn't write those books, but what you want to do is, if you're going to keep, let's say you keep a sex book out on the market, a erotica book, well, you want to make sure you have the right marketing and promotion behind that. You may want to do some videos or some commercials of what that book is about, playing up on a sex scene about it, or talking about maybe some condoms. Let me give you an example. When I came out with a book called Say Hello to Me, when I came out with that book, I did a promotional package of, I was giving away free condoms. I had the book cover on the condom. Well, I ended up turning that book into a business. The condoms, I gave away so many condoms. I said, well, this is hurting my pockets. Why don't I sell these condoms for $3 a pack? So I started selling condoms along with the book. Then I ended up selling that condom company off. I still have the book, but I ended up selling condoms. So I came out with my own condom based off of a book. And that's how I turned Anaya's Adventure series into merchandise. I knew at some point I was going to turn all of her material into merchandise. So that's what you do when it comes to marketing and promotion. You either give it away for free and see what it's going to do, or you sell it. But it has to be based off of your book. And that's how you turn your book into a business. It goes from, I want to read this material, to now I want to sell some material with this book to keep the name out there. That's how you keep the brand recognition out there. That's how people recognize you as an author or even a business person. They go, well, this person has children's books, and they came out with some tennis shoes, and they came out with some socks and book bags. That's how people find out about you, and that's how you create the longevity of who you are as a person. Okay. Now, this is great. This is perfect right here. Um, this is the reason I wanted to have this talk. We noticed that the world is in a pandemic. So you're thinking to yourself, Darshaun, listen, man, I hear what you're saying. That's all good. How do I sell these books right now? Because some of the stores are closing down, right? We can't really go anywhere. And I say, rest assured, no problem. What you need to do is this: when printing fails, do digital. So you need to turn your books into a digital ebook. Now, if you haven't already done that, that's okay. You need to be working on it right now. You need to convert it into an EPUB, which is basically an ebook, a digital book. In today's time, all of the software is familiar with PDF. Okay, so if you have your book now, if you upload it to Amazon, it's typically Amazon. A lot of people are going through Amazon. If you upload your book through Amazon, you'll be able to sell it as an ebook. What you want to do with ebooks is keep your price between $1.99 to $3.99. Now, okay, Darshaun, I hear you, but how do I sell it? Here we go. Now, this is from experience. Experience says to Darshaun, when I got started, that I was on the internet every single day. That was my job. This is what I do. I eat, live, and breathe books, right? So at a time when Google Translate was just coming out, what I decided to do was translate my English into German, translate my English into Russian. I started reaching out to different people on different platforms. At that time, it was MySpace. I started reaching out to people on MySpace, speaking in their language, having a casual conversation, and letting them know that no, I don't speak your language fluently, but this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sell my book. I'm trying to talk to you and see if you're interested in this. So you're going to have to reach out to people. You're going to have to do things such as this. You're going to have to get on Zoom. You're going to have to do Twitter and IG. You don't have to do it all the time, but it depends on how far you're trying to go with your book. If you're trying to get thousands of units sold, you're going to have to reach out to thousands of people, right? You're going to have to share your material. You have to tell people who you are. In this digital age, people need to see a footprint about you. You don't have to be crazy about it, but you just need to show your presence. Your presence has to be known, or that book is just going to sit right there on your desk and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to collect dust, okay? So you have to do phone calls, you have to do emails, you have to do social media. And when you're out and about, you have to tell people who you are. I went to go work for a call center back in 2012. And from 2012, what I had realized working at that call center, I think I worked there for like 60 days. Part of my goal was to figure out if there's a company that's going to teach me how to sell their product and upsell, well, I'm going to apply that same theory to my life, right? So I went to go work for it was AT&T. And AT&T, when you're fixing the internet, they tell you, hey, do an upsell, try to upgrade it. Okay. So when I quit that job, I said, you know what? I remember having the technique of telling people how to, hey, why don't you get this higher internet service, right? So what I decided to do after doing my cold calls was I figured out a way to, when I talk to people out of the phone books, they don't really exist anymore, but this is the pastime. Out of the phone books, I would call a person and I would say, hey, I'm looking for Melissa. There's no Melissa that stays here. Oh, well, no problem. My name is Darshaun McAway. I came out with this particular book. Would you like to hear more about it? And they'll say, get off my phone. Click. Right. So I got all kind of hangups, right? Hang up, hang up, hang up, hang up. But what I was doing was I was slowly implementing my voice in there and just being a person that was going to call that person back and say, hey, I remember I called you. I think our phone lost connection. I was trying to tell you that I came out with this book and I was wondering if you would purchase it from me. So I'm a person that talks from experience. I did cold calls. I meet people in person. I talk about what I do for a living and people are interested in that. So you have to be interested. So if you're not able to sell your book in print, don't worry about it. Direct people to your website or direct people to other people's website, which will be, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, and Amazon and whoever else is out there. But don't give up on your book. You have to make sure you talk about it or your book is just going to fizzle out. You don't want your book to fizzle out. Okay? So far, so good. Everybody catching on?
Absolutely. You're making it very simple. Doing great.
All right, so here we go. All right, so as you can see, self-publishing is a contact sport. Let me tell you something about self-publishing. When you guys self-publish, you are a very important person. A traditional publisher will do this for you. A traditional publisher, the person that's investing in you, this is what they do. And we're going to talk about ownership a little bit here. A traditional publisher says, hey, I love your book. This is fantastic. This is the royalty split. We're going to give you $1 for every book that you sell, right? But you do not own the ISBN. Okay, what's the ISBN, Darshaun? Let me show you. It's the International Barcode, Serial Barcode Number. It's the UPC code on the back of a book, right? The publisher, that's what makes you a publisher. So when you self-publish, you own your own ISBN. When you go to a traditional publisher, they own it. Now, you are entitled to the copyrights along with the publisher. See, they kind of jam you up. So when you're a self-published person, you have more control over your material. And a lot of people don't understand this part. That ISBN lets the government know how many books you sell. It also lets them know that you're a tax-paying citizen, right? But when it comes down to litigation, they say, well, who owns the book? Well, the publisher owns the book. So who's the publisher in this instance? Well, I'm the traditional publisher. I own the book. But Darshaun has the copyrights because he authored the book. You follow me? I authored the book. This is great. Um, so when you author the book, you are entitled to the copyrights. You still registered with the copyright.gov, right? You registered with them. But when you're under a traditional publisher, they take care of everything for you. So they kind of baby you in a sense. They still want you to go out and talk about the book. A traditional publishers, they're going to put you on TV. They're going to put you on radio. They may even advance you a couple dollars. But in the end, they're taking all the credit for your work because they're the ones that own your material. This is why there are so many disputes when authors want to leave from a publishing company. They go, yeah, you can leave all day long, but we're keeping the rights to this book. Why? Because we published it. We're the publisher. When you self-publish, you become the traditional publisher. You become your marketing agent. You become your literary agent. You become everything, but you also own everything. And that's the most important part, because when you own a book, you have the ability to take that book and license it out to a production company. You have the ability to sell it to whoever you want. When someone else owns your material, you have to sit at the negotiating table with that person and say, listen, this is how much I want to sell it for. And they go, no, we own the rights to this book. Yeah, you got it copyrighted and you can have the copyright, but we own the ISBN. So in most cases, some books become obsolete because they can't work it out with the publisher or the estate of who that author was. They just can't deal business with each other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you are self-publishing, understand that you are a very important person and you control the direction of that book, which is why you have to talk about it so much and you have to have a perfect marketing plan. I hate to use this analogy, but you have to think of it this way. The book isn't necessarily your baby, but you have to guide that book in the direction you want it to go. You
Mm-hmm.
have to say, okay, where do I want this book to go? What do I want? What type of accomplishments do I want to see this book do for me? Right? It's just like when you're raising your kids, where do I want you to go? How do I direct you? Right? You want to put yourself in that book in a position to where it's going uphill instead of staying plateau. Now let's go into trying to get your books into a store. So this is what happens when you try to get your book into a store. And this goes across the globe for CVS, Walgreens, anybody you can think of, Whole Foods, anybody who is able to carry a magazine or any type of book. This is how they operate. They're going to put all of you on a probation period. And that probation period is usually 90 days. And they want to sell thousands of units because they have hundreds of stores and they're able to put like 25 copies per store. I don't want you guys to be worried about trying to get your book in the stores right now because of what's happening. There's a decline in stores. Of course, people are looting stores. That's going to be a loss for you, right? Because if people burn up a whole store and you got 25 copies in that store, well, you just lost out on 25 copies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You want to focus on doing digital in 2020, and the price is a lot cheaper for the customer, right? Most cases, most ebooks are like $2.99, $3.99. So I know you want to get your books inside the store, but you have to think, are you going to be able to move thousands of units? You got to be real with yourself. Remember when I told her, so I couldn't move 60,000 units, but I can move 250. So I can move 250 in 90 days. And when I did that and I showed that track record, it kept it going. So I kept on increasing. So I know you want to get your books inside the bookstore, but don't worry. As long as you have your books on people's websites, such as Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, that's great. People can see that you're verified and certified. That's no problem. But just focus on selling units. How many people can I sell today? Can I get 12 people today? Can I get 100 people by the end of the week? You want to sell units. You want to move units because what happens is this: in today's time, when you're moving units digitally, your name builds up in the software base, or the algorithm is what they're calling it. It builds up by saying, okay, this book is selling pretty good. It's selling pretty consistent. It may not be a retail copy, but it's a digital copy. And their software starts to move books up the totem pole. I notice if you go to Amazon, you see that certain books have a ranking system. Well, what you want to do is keep on selling the book all the time. You can direct people to Amazon, that's no problem. Or you can, wherever your book is placed. But just remember, when you put your book on someone else's platform, they give you pennies, right? It's just like when you move into somebody's house, it's their rules. So it's your material, you own it, but we're going to give you 75 cents for every book that you sell. You have no control on what they put that price up. They'll tell you, what's your general price? $12.99. They can sell your book for 35. I seen one of my books being sold for $57 on Amazon, and I got 17 cents out of $57. Now, what I would tell you is it's okay to tell people to go to Walmart, Target, and everything else like that. But if you own your own stuff, your own ISBN, your own copyrights, if you own that material and you have your own website, always direct people to your website because you're going to retain more of the money. You can
Mhm.
let them know as a certification to you that it's available at Walmart or Target, but you want to bring people your way. Why? Why do you want to bring people your way? Well, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be your only book. You want people to be interested in who you are as a person. It's fantastic that you can articulate and write a book down. That's fantastic. But how do you get people to get an interest in you as a person? How transparent are you being? How authentic are you being with people to say, hey, I can teach you how to write a book, or I can teach you how to do something. So everything is strategic, guys. You have to make sure that this is something that you really want to do. Again, this is what I do day in and day out. I love speaking about it because I come from a place of experience, right? I always thought about having a book out there. I wanted to be the most well articulate person in the world. I wanted to be well known. And as you can see, I'm doing pretty good at implementing a place that I thought I didn't belong. I didn't think I belonged in these big box retail stores. But as you can see from experience, a lot of you have access to me. It's easy to do it if you really believe in it. Now, um, I think how many people are in the chat now?
We've got 7 people on, including myself.
Okay, great. So here's a person that's very dedicated, Cheryl LeGrand. Cheryl LeGrand, she comes onto my podcast. Cheryl LeGrand is a go-getter. She's a person that's not giving up. She calls me, she contacts me, we email each other. And one thing I notice about Cheryl is she's not letting her books die. So when you're trying to promote your books, you have to get on other people's platforms. Some people may charge for their platforms, but you have to get on other people's platforms and you have to casually talk to people. That's if you're into social media, you have to casually talk to people in the comments, right? You have to pull people your way. That's the reason of getting on someone else's platform. I'm not telling you to necessarily hijack it, but I'm telling you to get the word out about your book. If you aren't selling anything, you have to talk to people. So you talk to them in person, but definitely talk to them through digital social media. Okay. Mm. And if people really want to buy your retail copy, they know where to find you. They'll find it. They'll find it. They'll find it in the stores. They'll come to your website. So rest assured. Um, all right, now this is what I want to talk about real quickly before I want to talk about when you're trying to be a big hitter in the industry. If you're trying to sell your book to a production company, if you're trying to turn your book into a movie, I would advise you guys to take a look at this book. It's called Guide to Literary Agents. They do have this is the last time I looked it up. I've been okay since then, but they have a 2020 version, right? It's called Guide to Literary Agents. This book right here, I'm able to speak so well about what I'm doing because of the examples in this book. This book teaches you how to have a literary agent, a publicist, a lawyer, the people who have to speak on your behalf to get you in front of production companies or to even sell your self-published book to a traditional company. It teaches you how to formulate an email to get them to open it up. I've been very successful at talking to these people, but I don't like their deals. Some of those companies have terrible deals. Their percentages are terrible, which is why I stayed as a self-publishing author myself. Um, I really don't like to call myself self-published because I bought my own ISBNs. I want to talk about ISBNs real quickly. Uh, if you want to purchase your ISBN, go to myidentifiers.com. Myidentifiers.com. That website, you can purchase up to 10 ISBNs. Now, remember what I said earlier. When you own your ISBN, you are the publisher. That is a fact. The government notices you as that because you bought an ISBN. That's the International Barcode Serial Number, right? When you own your own ISBN and your copyrights, you own that book. You tell it what to do. In this book right here, the Guide to Literary Agents, what happens with this book is you're looking to pitch your material. So I was looking to in the beginning, I was looking to pitch, what book was that? Girlfriend versus Wife Duties, and my book Say Hello to Me. I was trying to pitch it as a movie, and I was trying to figure out how do I take this book, the self-help book, and turn it into a romance, a romance comical movie. Uh, I got through to a lot of literary agents, but I didn't like the offer. I didn't like the direction they wanted me to go. But it is a helpful book because these are some of the most prominent literary agents in the industry. They do have a 2020 version. Okay, but so that's that on that. It's self-explanatory. It's a very great example to how to put together a book proposal, how to put together a pitch, if you will, via email. It's very helpful to do this book. I need to figure out a way to have my face on the front cover of this book. But so okay, so here we go. We're gonna close it out, and I'm gonna answer some questions here. So here we go. And I hope this is very helpful. Now, I didn't want to leave out the part to say, well, okay, if I never wrote a book, how do I write a book? And this is how you write a book. No one knows your story but you, whatever that experience may be. Get in front of a computer if you have one, or write it down on a piece of paper. And the best way for you to become a creative writer is to explore your emotions. Talk about your emotions. I don't care if they have to be vulgar. I don't care if it makes you cry, because if it makes you cry, when I read it, it's going to make me cry. No one can tell your story but you. No one can share my experiences with my child from these children's books but me. That's why they're so successful. These are things that I'm doing to have an imagination. No one was able to tell my romance novels or my erotica books the way I did, because those were my experiences. So when you're telling your story, be open. Be open. Tell everybody what it is. This is the book. Most cases people say my life is an open book. Well, be that open book. Be very open. Be so open that it's TMI. Because what happens is you pull in the reader, and then that reader goes, hey, did you check out this book? Hey, maybe you should go check out this book. This is how people become word of mouth. So when you're writing a book, share your experiences with me. Bring me into your world. Make me understand what you're going through. I want to know, why did you write this book? Why do you think it's so important? Why do you think that everybody in the world should be reading it? Because 9 times out of 10, when you share your experience with me, I'm going to talk about it. Look how we talk about movies. Look how we talk about some books in general. We go, no, that's a good book, but that's a great read, right? So tell your story. No one knows your story but you. And it's important for you to tell your story anyway, because life is so unexpected. So tell your story. Get to a piece of pen and pad. Get in front of your laptop and dedicate your time. At least give yourself 15 minutes to an hour to write your story. I don't care what it is. If it's a children's book, and you say, well, Darshaun, I can only do about 8 sentences. That's okay. Write those 8 sentences, right? And then think about what you want those illustrations to look like. Because that's what happens with children's books. Write that romance novel. Talk about your experience when you were in your early teens and going through college. Paint the picture for me, right? So, Darshaun, how do I paint a picture? How do I become a creative writer? Well, by being a creative writer, you have to lay out those adjectives for me, right? Bring me into a place of I'm sitting down and you were in the kitchen cooking some bacon and eggs, and then explain to me what that smelled like, and where were you at this time, and what were you thinking, and what were you wearing, right? That pulls me into the story. And now I want to read more. Now I want to turn the page, right? And after I get done reading your book, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get online. I'm going to say, hey, did you check out this book? This is a good read. That's what happens when you tell your story. Even if it's a fake story, right? You can put yourself anywhere you want to when you're writing books. But what the main thing you want to do is tell your story, because no one can tell it the way you do. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. So let me make sure. I'm just going to go back here and make sure I covered all my notes.
Do you want to go through your book covers?
Yes. Go ahead and let's go through that. And yeah, let me explain something. I'm gonna close it out with the books from there. Bring up the book list. Bring up the book list first. Bring up the book list. This portion here goes into the marketing aspect. So the book list is right next to, 'Anaya's trip to Atlantic. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So back in 2015, 2016, I'm gonna say 2015, when Anaya was born, I wrote the book. I wrote the book in my cell phone that night. So I had wrote like a 10-book children's series, right? And I knew what I was going to try to do was I was going to try to come out with every book every year, and I was going to grow the book up with her. So if you see that book list, those books, I have them already written. Excuse me. Up until 2024. If I'm not mistaken, she'll be roughly about 9 or 10 years old. So I had a marketing plan for my business proposal. I had a plan for my daughter the moment she was born. So if you go to the next book, Anaya's Trip to the Rainbow, I want to show you guys something. This is what I call clever marketing here. I'm going to show you guys something.
Let me see if I can figure out where it was here.
Yeah, no problem. That one right there. So if you look at that image right there, that's an image of my daughter when she was about 7 months old, but roughly about six months old. What I decided to do, I was talking to my wife and I say, hey, do you think that we should keep her looking like that or should we grow her up a little bit? So if you go to the next picture, which is Anaya's trip to space. Okay, we gradually started growing her up. Now go to the next one, Anaya's road trip. So in that picture, Anaya's trip to space, she's about 2 years old. Anaya's road trip, she's 3. And that's the book that we have out right now. If you go to Anaya's Haunted Halloween, what we started to gradually do was make her a little bit taller, right? She's a little bit taller. And then on Anaya's trip to Atlantis, that's what Anaya looks like right now. She'll be 5 in August. She'll be 5 in August. So we took a image of her, a picture of her when she was like, 4 years old. But as you can see, the body frame, if you look at the body frame, we purposely grew her up. So what's going to happen for the other 5 series, we're probably going to keep her at the age of 5. And what's going to happen in those 5, the next 5 series, that's going to be all Anaya. She's going to write those books herself. I have the titles already written. I have my experiences with her. I'm just going to have her implement her 2 cents, and then we're going to come out with the other 5. So this is all based off of my business plan that I had did back in 2016 after I came out of Walmart. I kind of revised it a little bit. And what I decided to do was slowly give myself leverage on creating some tennis shoes. If you can pull up the tennis shoes, right? So now we're coming out with shoes. So we got the children's books, and I believe Dr. Woods, I didn't have the shoes when I first spoke to you, but that was in my plan. So we have the children's shoes, we have the children's socks, we have the book bags, we have the umbrellas, and that was to give myself leverage, right? Because what I'm doing now is I'm trying to license my material to companies such as Disney, Pixar, Sony, whoever else has the big checkbook. That's who we're going to. So I hope this helped you out a lot. I hope I didn't miss anything. And I just want to thank you guys for your time, and I want to open the floor up to any questions and answers you may have, because one thing I do love the most, I love giving people answers.
Awesome. Let's start with Dr. White's question. She says, do you ask someone to translate, or do you find a software or a company to do your translation?
You can do both. Okay, so if you're going to go for a company, if you do a software, that's you doing it yourself and you're trying to cut costs, you have to be careful, because in certain languages, in English is phrased a different way. So I would do both if I were you, Dr. Jane White. I would do both, but I would actually reach out to a person who can actually translate in that language, just based off of the barriers of how we speak in English or how someone else may speak in Japanese.
That's a great question. If you have questions, if you would, just for the sake of confusion and mics, if you would move your cursor around and hit the little chat bubble, you can type in your question there. I'll be happy to read your question so that Darshaun can address it. So, Darshaun, okay, so Judge Wood asked, what is the ISBN cost in general? Is there a good round number for that people should expect?
Yeah, so the average number for ISBN, it ranges from $175 just for one, it's between $175 and $200, and that $200 is that after tax. So it's basically about $200 for one ISBN. But if you go to myidentifiers.com, they have a bulk option. I believe that bulk option is. Let me double check. I'm gonna go there right now because I have it in my bookmarks.
It's 10.
10.
Yes.
Yeah. So they used to have 10 for $350. I think they raised the price. It may be 10 for $450.
Yes.
But they're worth having, and this is why they're worth having. Judge Woods. When you own your own ISBN, you have the option to sell your ISBN to, let's say you want to come up with somebody wants you to publish a book for them. Where if things don't work out between you two, you can have that author purchase that ISBN from you so that they own the ISBN. So it's all about ownership. That's what a lot of people are trying to do. It's best for you to have your own ISBN. It still works the same way as if you were under a self-publishing company, because most of the distribution comes through Ingram Book Group. So as long as your ISBN is legit through identifier services, you'll be fine.
All right, were there any other questions? We won't belabor this. Darshaun, I just want to tell you, you did an awesome job with that. You flowed through a lot of information really quickly. I'm so glad that we recorded this because I will need to go back and watch it again just to pick up all the moving pieces. But I'm so blessed and fortunate to have you in my circle of people. I really appreciate what you do because, how many people have said, man, I want to write a book one day, and then, you can write it, but what do you do with it after that? So that's really powerful information. I see Felicia you have your hand raised. Did you want to unmute and ask a question?
Well, I didn't really have a question. I kind of stepped in on the tail end of the conversation, but I just want to thank you for being able to share that information with us about the tips and tricks on writing a book. I've actually been basically asked to write a book and have even considered writing a book for quite some time, but not really knowing where to start. And like you're saying, finding the right people to secure your book deal for you. So I thought it was really important to find out about these ISBNs and just some of the other tips and information that you offered. And I just wanted to tell you thank you, that was very valuable information.
You're welcome. And here goes the superstar
All
right
right.
here, everybody.
There she is. Hi,
Hi,
beautiful.
Maya.
I get so excited when I see people's babies on Zoom. Judge Wood says she's got a big.
Yeah. From the last
Maya,
time.
how do you feel about having a book line? Having your books in Walmart and everywhere where people can buy them.
Books in Walmart. You said good.
She said that's just what my daddy does because he's awesome like that. That's great. Darshaun, you set a great example for fathers everywhere, and I just want to applaud you and salute you for that. So thank you so much for sharing all that you did. This recording will be available, so any of you who need to reach out to me to get it, if you want to revisit what was mentioned here, if you're watching this on the replay, I absolutely encourage you to reach out to Darshaun. He is such a valuable resource of information, and we don't have those in our communities as much as we should, so I just want to thank you again for that. Darshaun, do you want to leave your information so that people know how to get in touch with you?
Mm-hmm. So my number, do you want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, that would be great, but I'm also going to write it down because I know on the replay, a lot of people are going to be watching and asking me for it.
Okay, so my business cell is area code 918-552-0278. Give me a call anytime you want. You can talk to me about whatever you want. I tell you what now, if we start talking over 30 minutes, I may have to charge you. Okay. But now give me a call. I'm very open.
Together, right?
Right. I love talking to people. It's quite all right. But you can email me at babyauthors@mail.com. That's the company email. Of course, I see everything. If I don't get back to you, trust me, just give me some time. I'm just busy being a dad, trying to have as much fun with my daughter as possible. But I am here to help. That's what I do. I love talking to people. I love helping people. And I love giving people answers.
Darshaun,
Yes.
what is the price to come on your podcast? I know I got mine for free, but I
Oh,
have several.
yeah, I started charging $10 because so many people were canceling and not giving me a heads up. So I say, you guys are taking my time away from my family because, I have a set time where I do it. And that time to me is valuable. So I charge $10. And usually what happened is we'll end up speaking for about 13 to 15 minutes. But when I edit the audio, it comes out to be about 8 or 10 minutes. So basically you're talking to me $1 per minute.
Okay.
That's awesome. Do you have something, Judge Wood?
Absolutely. I do want to say again, happy Father's Day. And you're right, Miss Edwards, he does a phenomenal job representing dads and giving a good name for doing what he's called to do, right? That's what we're supposed to do. You don't make them, you need to raise them and love on them and all. So anyway, congratulations on that. 2, I need to get you my 10 so I can get onto your second podcast. I think I told you the second book was came out really a week before the pandemic hit, and so scheduled book signings and all that stuff all got shut down. But I think you gave some good ideas about the digital and that type of thing. So, but would like to get on and kind of share about the second one in the series,
Okay.
Adopting Joy.
Okay, that's a good deal.
I would like to say, I'm sorry, this is Cheryl LeGrand. I would like to say this was some wonderful information, and I always love seeing you and getting information from you. It's been truly a blessing in my life.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us too, Cheryl. Shantae, would you unmute your mic for a moment and introduce yourself? I have a couple of people who join us on here and wanted them to introduce themselves. I know Felicia had a short moment there. Shantae, if you would unmute. She's a publisher also. I'm excited to have her on. And she may be unable to unmute right now. I'm not sure. Let me see. Okay, can you hear her, Shantia? She might have stepped away. But and Felicia, you want to go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself as well? So I think the rest of everybody else kind of knows each other. Darshaun, do your people know each other already?
So Judge Woods doesn't know Dr. Jane White or Cheryl LeGrand. They all have been on my podcast. I look up to Judge Woods. Me and him have a great connection. He's a very strong individual.
Thank you.
But yeah, so we got Dr. Jane White and Judge Woods and Cheryl LeGrand. They all been on the podcast, and they're some wonderful people. I always encourage everybody to support each other. You don't have to support each other financially, but at least spread the word about each other's books. That's the kind of community that I have with Wild Podcast. We're all in it together, and we all are trying to help one another get somewhere.
Absolutely.
You sent out. Go ahead, Ms. Cassandra. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I would definitely invite all you guys to reach out to me because, I'd love to learn more about what it is that you guys do, learn about your books, learn about you as a person, because what I do is all relationship based. So my email address is actually chosenfew.ca. Yeah, thank you. chosenfew.cadwards@gmail.com. And my number is 803-238-0974. And definitely feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text message. I'd love to set a time to sit down and learn more about you guys individually. And my website is chosenfewworkshops.us if you're curious more about what I do. And I will certainly encourage all you guys to reach out to each other as well. What you got, Darshaun?
I wanted to hear from, you said her name was Shantae?
I've heard people pronounce her name 2 or 3 different ways. I believe her company is Relentless Publishing. Is it Shantia?
Yes.
Yeah, people
Relentless
say,
Publishing.
Right. She's here in Columbia, South Carolina. She's a good friend of another networker that Mr. James Shad, awesome awesome attorney here in Columbia, South Carolina, who also does a lot of networking.
I wanted to hear from her since she's a publisher. I wanted to, I'm always into making sure I'm not giving out the wrong information or if I'm misguided by something. So if she's a publisher, I wanted to make sure that what I was saying was, factual or at least in line with how the publishing industry is working based off of my experience.
That would be awesome. I think she might have stepped away from her phone or something, but I'll definitely make sure that I connect the two of you. And all that
Brother
good
McAway, you sent a
Yes.
note out about the chef who's doing an online reading
Yes.
program. You want to promote that? I think that'd be great for the people who are listening and maybe looking and recording later, looking at you later.
So his name is Chef Boris. Chef Boris. Let me see if I can. I'm not gonna be able to pull it up on the thing, but so Chef Boris, he's looking for any author who wrote a children's book, but he's especially looking for authors who wrote children's books about food, healthy eating, healthy living. I'm going to pull up his number here. But he wants to do a virtual online reading with anybody who has a children's book. And what they're going to do, I sent it out to you guys. What they're going to do is they're going to pay you for your book. So they're going to buy your books from you at a retail rate. They're going to purchase 100 copies. And then they're going to set a time and date up with you to where you can read online such as this and read it out loud to the kids. So he's looking for any and everybody. The way me and him got connected was somebody tagged my name and he reached out to me instantly. I said, hey, let me get you on a podcast so you can promote this. So I want to give out his number. See if I can find his number here. Just bear with me. So his name is Chef Boris. And it's called Reading Under the Stars, Healthy Eating and Healthy Living. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's looking out for the kids down there in South Florida.
Okay.
Right now.
You have a number for him?
But if I sent it to you in the email,
Awesome.
you can read it. You can reach out to him because he gave me the approval to put his number out there. I just wanted to say his number to the people who may be listen to this later.
Mm-hmm.
I can find it.
Ms. Edwards, can I have your number again?
Certainly. It's 803-238-0974.
Thank you.
Certainly.
I have the number, Brother McAway, if you need it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chef Boris is at 561-543-9787. Again, 561-543-9787. Tell them that Darshaun McAway sent you. And again, that's Chef Boris.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Judge Wood.
Awesome. Awesome.
And we left the message. We're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I hope y'all will keep me in the loop because, of course, attendance is not a reflection of the connections we have. So I'm always looking forward to putting people in touch and, like I said, learning more about you guys so I can know how I can help connect you better as well. So if no one else has anything, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you again, Darshaun. Thank you again for all of you coming on and just adding and contributing to the conversation tonight because it would not be the same without you. Thank you again. I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon. Darshaun, I'll send you this file tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Daddy's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.
Yeah, have a great night.
Father's Day.